It is Kieran Trippier. It is delicious! Glorious! Glorious!
Walker in there too. Luke Shaw! Harry Kane wants it played into him. He chooses Grealish instead. It's Grealish! It's Kane! I think like this has happened for a long time. Here's the overhead kick from Kane! Palmer finds Watkins. Watkins turns! Watkins scores!
Hello, and welcome back to the Gates 102 podcast. Thank you for tuning in once again. Always is appreciated. And I hope you're doing well and having a good weekend. Also, a thank you to anyone who listened to my previous episode, which I must admit was not the most exciting. England losing 2-0 to Belgium away from home. And that defeat meant England could no longer make it to the finals of the Nations League. So it was a disappointing night from England's perspective. But that episode is still available, as are all the other episodes I've talked about so far. So moving on then, England's final game of the Nations League campaign was against Iceland at Wembley. And this was a bit of a dead rubber, to be honest, because England's chances of topping the group had already gone after the defeat to Belgium a few days earlier. But it was still a chance to finish the year on a high, end the campaign strongly, and give a few players another opportunity to impress Gareth Southgate. So there were quite a few changes from that Belgian game. Jordan Pickford remained in goal. The back three of Kyle Walker, Eric Dyer and Harry Maguire. And it was good to see Maguire back in the defence for this one, as I think we missed him in the previous game. The wing-backs were Kieran Trippier, who kept his place on the right, and Bukayo Saka came in at left wing-back in place of the injured Ben Chilwell. In midfield, and it was quite an attacking midfield, to be fair, Declan Rice and Mason Mount were playing slightly deeper. And then in front of those two were Jack Grealish and Phil Foden, and they were almost playing as two number 10s. So you essentially had three number 10s on the pitch, because Mason Mount, who was playing almost as a number 8 in this game, was practically a number 10 as well. So, and obviously Harry Kane led the line up front. I think I might be wrong, but I'll have to double check. But it might be the only time we saw Mount, Foden, and Grealish all start a game together. But like I say, I'll have to look that one up. But that might be the case. I mean, Southgate clearly going for it, and why not? Because there was nothing to lose. You know, you're at home against Iceland. You might as well go out all out attack. And you could tell Southgate would have been hoping for a reaction, as England had lost the last 2 Nations League games before this one. So it was almost important that we got 3 points in this one. And England started really strongly. They were controlling possession, pressing really high and looking really sharp going forward, as you would expect really. And it only took 20 minutes for the deadlock to be broken. And it came from Declan Rice, of all people. His first ever international goal for England. And yeah, a special moment. And it came from a Phil Foden free kick. A really nice cross, and Rice got a slight touch to guide it past the keeper into the far corner, and England were in the lead, 1-0 up. And you could see what it meant to him as well. Celebration said it all. He was one of England's best players throughout 2020, and a player who had grown in real importance for England. And for him to get that first goal in a competitive match was a really big moment for him. So it was a brilliant start, and just 4 minutes after Declan Rice scored his goal, England doubled their lead, and this time it was through his midfield partner, Mason Mount. And it was another clever goal. It's a little bit scrappy in the box, and then Mount just sort of reacted the quickest, took a touch, and finished smartly into the corner to make it 2-0 with his weaker left foot as well. And this was his third England goal, so it's great to see him get on the score sheet. And I mentioned Rice before becoming an important player, and so was Mason Mount at this point in time. He was definitely one of England's biggest threats going forward, and it was great to see him get another goal and enhance England's lead further. And it was also special because obviously Rice and Mount grew up really close friends. So for them to score almost in the same same game, same half is really special, I think. One thing I love about this game was the fluidity that England were playing at. They were moving the ball so well, and the attack just kept on roaming and swapping positions. It was beautiful to watch. And a lot of the talk from this game was how good England's attacking midfielders were. So, as mentioned, Mount, Foden, Grealish. One thing I do want to say is Harry Kane, I thought, was England's biggest threat. Even though he didn't get on the score sheet, he was linking up the play, he was making things happen, he was drawing plays to him. Then, with Kane drawing plays to him, it then created space for the other midfielders to go and be creative and do what they do best. So a big shout out to the captain, because whilst he wasn't one of the players to score, his presence was so important, and the way he brought people in the game, I thought was incredible. I hope my bias towards Harry Kane isn't too predominant, because I do love Harry Kane more than my all-time favourite England player. So I was thinking, you listeners might be thinking, yeah, Charlie loves Harry Kane, he just never shuts up about him. But it's true. I thought in this game, even when he doesn't score, he's still arguably the best player in the pitch. I just think he's such a special player, and has been for many years. But it's a really positive first half from England's point of view. And to be fair, it could have been more. I think we were unlucky that it was only 2-0. So it could have been 4 or 5. The amount of chances England had, they were in total control. And to be honest, Iceland barely had a touch in our half. And it felt like the game was over already. Went into the second half then, and it was almost a continuation of the first 45 minutes, really. Really dominant, and there was no settling at 2-0. England were hungry for more, which was great to see. Southgate made a few changes. Jadon Sancho came on just to offer a bit of fresh legs up front and offer something different in attack. Harry Winks and Ainsley Maitland-Niles also came off the bench, and that was the last time we saw either of those two players under Southgate, both of them making their final cap in this game. But England kept on trying to score, but I think as the second half went on, we found it hard to expand the lead. And the Iceland goalkeeper, Christensen, I think I've said that right, was having a really solid performance, and he made it hard for England to enhance the lead. And I was thinking, is this going to be 2-0? Are we actually going to get more goals here? Because the goalkeeper was having such a good game. But 80th minute of the game, Phil Foden got his first England goal to make it 3-0 to England. And this was a really calm and composed finish with his left foot, slotting it into the bottom corner. A really, really cool finish. And it was Jadon Sancho with the assist as well. So it was nice to see a substitute come on and get an assist. I think it was clear to see how much that goal meant to Foden. He had a massive smile on his face. And it was nice because obviously in the return fixture in Iceland, when England won 1-0, he had to leave that camp early due to disciplinary problems. So for him to get his first goal against the same opposition at Wembley was a nice bit of redemption for Foden. But not only that, 4 minutes after that goal, the Man City midfielder scored once again. And this is a typical Phil Foden goal, really. He cut in from the right and fired it low and hard into the near corner. A fantastic goal. And it made it 2 goals in quick succession, making it 4-0 to England. So yeah, Foden had been good all game, but the last 10 minutes he really, really stepped up and got on the score sheet twice. And it's a shame, really, because, bearing in mind that game was 5 years ago. And you could say, 5 years later, Foden's not really kicked on. When people say what was Foden's best England performance, you've probably, most people would say that Iceland game, and that was only his 3rd appearance. So it's a shame that he's not kicked on as of yet. At the time of recording this podcast, he's not really done a great deal in an England shirt for his standards, but you never know what the future holds. Fingers crossed we can see him playing like he did in the Iceland game 5 years ago in the future. But yeah, that goal sealed what was a really comfortable and professional performance from Southgate's side. And it's the kind of display you want to end a year on. 4 goals, clean sheet, every player played well. And there were so many positives you could take from the game. I mean, firstly, how composed England looked throughout. And sometimes in these so-called dead rubbers, when there's nothing to play for, the intensity can drop. But this was not the case. England were hungry, played with such a high intensity, kept on pushing, kept on trying to score more goals. And it was the perfect response that Southgate would have hoped for. And the players delivered on what was asked from them. I think also the performances of the younger lads that were playing, so Foden, Saka, Saka again, really good, considering it was a left wing back, not his natural position. Rice, Mount getting on the score sheet. And you could really see the next generation starting to take shape towards the end of 2020, and it was exciting to watch. But I mean, for Southgate, this game would have given him plenty of encouragement heading into 2021, and throughout the whole Nations League campaign, as well as the friendlies against Ireland and Wales, he would have definitely learnt so much, and that would have been beneficial going into the following year, which of course involved European Championships. So that concludes this episode, and that finishes the 2020 Nations League campaign. In the end, England finished second in the group, with Belgium going on to win. So next time, I'll be talking about the start of England's World Cup qualifying campaign and moving on to the games in 2021. But before I do that, I'm delighted to say that I recently had the pleasure in speaking to writers of the great book Dear England, Jonathan Norcroft and Rob Draper. Now, Dear England is a book all about Southgate's time as England manager, and it talks about how he changed the culture of the team. It's well worth a read if you've not yet read it. But yes, next episode will be me speaking to both Jonathan and Rob. I have actually recorded that, and it's a good listen, so just in the process of editing it now, but that should be out either later this week or the start of next week. So keep your eyes out for that one. So yeah, it's well worth a listen, that one. Right, that concludes this episode. Thank you for listening. Always appreciated. Until next time, take care of yourselves. I'll speak to you soon.